All right, guys, let's go through the species out here and how they're growing and how they're looking, what they do, and all that. I will admit I cannot find me the rapeseed plant. Maybe it looks just like the oilseed radish, and I'm mixing the two up. The flower was supposed to be a different color. It was supposed to have a flower exactly like that white flower there, excuse me, except it would be kind of yellow. Otherwise, they had a very similar looking plant, but I'm just not finding it. So I do apologize for that. I don't know what to say. But let's move on. So alfalfa, one of my old favorites. This isn't the greatest example. It's just growing that crown root. Alfalfa in a cover crop rotation, it broadcasts seeds very well. It is a massive nitrogen producer. It builds a great root system. If you just let alfalfa grow wild for 1 year, just seeded that field. You know, if I just seed that field and just let it grow, don't take a cutting off and just let it grow and grow, I would have nitrogen out there for 300 bushel corn without a question of the doubt. I would have some nitrogen even going into the second year of corn on corn. It is just a tremendous nitrogen producer, and the roots never stop growing. So all year long, it would just keep growing roots down and out, but mostly down. So it's a great recycler of nutrients for bringing things up. Great compaction fighter, good water infiltration. It's good for erosion because you seed it thick, but its root design isn't the greatest for that. But I mean, I remember as a kid moldboarding plow out there, and you would have corn roots trailing behind you 20 feet long. It just builds a massive root system underground, which is awesome. So it's a good soil health builder as well. We move over to clover. I have red clover because I want it to overwinter. I want the clover and alfalfa to be alive next year. Clover is the same thing, huge nitrogen producer. In a cover crop, it broadcasts seeds very well, and you can see on this one, it builds that fantastic taproot, and it also builds a lot of hair roots out. It is a great soil structure plant. In a pasture mix, they are both huge producers of protein. When your cattle goes into that tougher winter, you want to push the protein on them. Out here, the protein of the alfalfa and clover will balance nicely off the oats. The oats and the ryegrass, they can be a great source of protein if you're grazing on them when they're young. As a cover crop, they both broadcast seed very well. They build this massive hairy root system, not the deepest, but just that very thick, dense, hairy root system. Awesome for shallow soil improvements, soil health, and very, very good for erosion. With this here, nothing's going to erode that soil if you can get a good establishment like that. The oats, I love where the oats are at because they're going to start turning here not too long. In a couple of weeks, I hope they start turning, and then the oat itself, in a pasture mix, the oat grain itself becomes a good product like a corn. It's very similar to corn for energy and protein levels and stuff like that. And then the stalks, like I said, when the stalks are brown and drying down, any of you have fed dairy, a good producing dairy ration, you might actually throw a splash of straw or give the cows a little free choice straw to give them some fiber and some meat for their meat and potatoes kind of dinner serving. And the ryegrass stays greener longer, don't dry down as quick as this. It starts to lose, as it starts to stem out, we're losing some feed quality as far as dairy cows go, but for collards out here on pasture, it's still a fantastic crop. And look at the absorption for their hooves, a good protection and all that mass standing there. That cow comes and she steps on that mass. You got a good mat that her hoof is stepping on to protect the soil. The oilseed radish. Now, this is the first time I've used oilseed radish. It does not make a massive tuber like the tillage radish. So the tillage radish, when I had tillage radish here, you could see, you know, he had that 1 liter pop bottle size tuber sticking out of the ground. And when you drove around out here, it was rougher than heck, bouncing off of them all fall. And then the next spring, you just had holes. It was like a little meteor shower ran across your field. These already went to seed. So here's some of the seed pods. There are some out here that are so loaded with seed pods, it is not even funny. It is just massive seed pods. Here's one that's got a little more seed pods on it. I am not worried about volunteer oilseed radish out here next year. That's fine by me, because we're going to have corn and beans out here. We're going to have live alfalfa and live clover. So if the oilseed radish come back next year, that's all right, because we're strip tilling corn out here. We're strip tilling beans, and we're going to do some tests out here anyhow. So that just saves me money on going buy more seed. But as far as they broadcast pretty good, they take off so fast. They are almost one of the first in a broadcast seeding to germinate and get going. You could see that in the corn video. Obviously, they are a compaction fighter. I mean, look at him at you know, if my hand spread is 9, almost 10 inches, you got another 2 or 3 inches down here, and it's still an 1/8 inch diameter. At a foot down, it's punching an 1/8 inch diameter hole. Oh, man, that is priceless. Obviously, it's not a huge erosion fighter, other than the fact that the next year, if you no-till into this, you'll have a hole that size in the surface of the dirt for the water to just funnel down into. All this vegetative matter is a fantastic feed source for cattle. And what I've been told is the guys have done some nutrient testing after it froze, and it still retained its feed value. That is pretty cool. So it's you can see it's taller than the oats. Vegetation is coming right on up. So until you get a lot of snow out here, you've got something green all winter long for the cattle to be grazing on. For just the cover crop itself, it's just an awesome plant to throw out there. A huge recycler of getting down there, you know, at that 1 and 2 feet and pulling up P and K. So this is all full of P and K, and a lot of it's from P and K that was put out here 10, 15 years ago. You know, that's worth something, guys. That is worth something. So when this breaks down, just like every other plant, when they break down over winter, this is all P and K out here. That's all you see is P and K with some nitrogen. And next spring, this will all be P and K laying on top of my soil, ready to be used. And some of it will be in the soil here, you know, in this tuber. If this tuber is holding all them nutrients, well, now that's going to break down. And if you happen to plant next to one, so you're going to be planting right next to a spot of extremely fertile soil. So that's kind of the gist of it, guys. That's what I got going on out here. Ultimately, at the end of the day, this is just a massive green manure crop. There is some yellow over there. I'm going to walk over there and investigate, see if maybe that is some of the rapeseed.